Are you denying that Russia has kidnapped at least 20,000 Ukrainian children?
Actually, you could argue that they're acting in Loco Parentis, bearing in mind their family may very well have been...
Get off my radio station, Tom.
So for those of us who follow politics closely, it's really becoming clear now how much Russian propaganda and misinformation has spread throughout UK political discourse. And LBC is one of the main homes of this. And in this video, what I've done is I've compiled a timeline of delusional Putin apologism. You're going to see 4 different callers try to gaslight Iain Dale, which is who they mostly call, by the way, and watch how the arguments escalate. It starts with simple stupidity, blaming NATO, then it moves on to historical revisionism of rewriting the Cold War. Do stick around till the end, because I do want to talk about the bigger picture here. LBC is drowning in voices like this, and I want to address the awkward connection between Iain Dale, these callers, and a certain British politician. Let's watch this, and I'll give my thoughts at the end.
What threat are you suggesting that Russia has with those other countries that have joined?
Oh my God. Are you that thick? Really? No. You don't see Russia as a threat? I mean, it's just invaded Ukraine, for God's sake. What more do you need to know? Well, I'm sorry, Carl, but you've demonstrated in this phone call that you're not interested in facts. You're a Putin apologist who doesn't see that there is a threat from Russia, and you should be ashamed of yourself. Goodbye.
Aren't you forgetting that Russia with Gorbachev and America with Ronald Reagan, they got together, and it's about to time that we help each other to get rid of the atomic weapons, constantly arguing and fighting with each other. And Ronald Reagan asked Russia to give up, remove the war in Germany, which was quite a big decision, and he agreed to that. And the only thing they asked...
Well, you've got a very strange memory of history there. He didn't agree to that at all. It was the East German people that knocked it down.
No, the thing is, if Russia had said, no, we are not going to agree to have the war done, it would have never happened. The whole arrangement was a fantastic arrangement between Russia and America.
That's not what happened. That is not what happened, Terry. You're right that Mikhail Gorbachev decided not to intervene, but if you're seriously suggesting that it was him that promoted the demolition of the Berlin Wall, it did not happen.
The thing is, he could have refused. He could have said, no, we are not going to accept this.
He could have sent in the troops, you're right. Yeah. He could have sent in his army, you're right, and he didn't.
So there was an arrangement, a suitable arrangement, we put an end to all this argument and everything. The only thing Russia asked from West and Europe and America, do not allow NATO come to our borders. And then somebody like Zelensky comes along and he wants to join NATO. And there's so many people, innocent people getting killed, they're displayed for what? Absolutely.
For an invasion by a foreign power, that's for what?
They had to do it.
It's not an invasion. Terry, I'm not interested in hearing your views anymore. If you think that was not an invasion, what do you think hundreds of thousands of Russian troops going over the Ukrainian border was if it wasn't an invasion?
No. What I'm just saying, if you suddenly find Iran come over to Scotland and threaten England, what would you do?
What? Are you completely deranged?
I'm just saying, how can you possibly turn around and blame everything on the West and Russia when there is... Who
invaded Ukraine? Which country invaded Ukraine?
Russia.
Exactly.
They had no right to do that. But you've got to remember, you can only push people so far, and they say, look, this is it. We came along, we made arrangements. That was there was end of USSR. We gave them freedom, everything they wanted. All we asked for, please keep away from our borders. What can you say to that?
I don't know where to start. I mean, people like you really live among us, don't you? I mean, the fact is, if Ukraine wanted to join NATO, it should have been allowed to put in an application. You've got other states like Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, all bordering Russia. They were all members of NATO, and yet Ukraine, for some reason, people like you shouldn't have. You think it shouldn't have even been allowed to apply. I wonder what you think, whether we should be allowed to apply to join international organisations if one other country thinks we shouldn't. Honestly, Terry, people like you make me absolutely sick.
Ukraine could only come up with 359 names of kids that they were looking for out of the supposed 20,000 you just quoted.
Well, that, I'm afraid, again, it's complete fiction.
Names?
It's complete fiction, because we know that there are thousands of Ukrainian children that have been taken into Russia and have not been returned. And if you deny that, James, I'm afraid you're as culpable as anyone in this.
I'm not. What I'm saying, they came out of the eastern regions, where an awful lot of those 20,000 were Russian-speaking kids.
Oh, so it's okay for them to be kidnapped?
They once, they're speaking Russian.
No. They were taken from their homes in all the different parts of Ukraine, but you're right, in the Donbass as well, Russian-speaking area, and they were taken into Russia. Now, if you don't consider that kidnapping, I don't know what you would describe it as.
If you're telling me they were all kidnapped when a good few thousand of them were found in Germany, but nobody ever mentions that.
Found in Germany?
Yeah. A good number of a good couple of thousand kids were found in
so it's probably NATO that kidnapped them then, was it?
I'm not saying that. Everyone... check out for yourself. But, yeah.
Yeah, well, I think finally I've silenced you. Thank goodness for that. James, thank you for that. Chris has just checked that out, and there's absolutely nothing to corroborate what you've just said. And it's roughly about the same amount of truth that you've told in the rest of the conversation, I suspect.
Hello.
But you're talking like an appeaser of Hitler in the 1930s, talking about German security interests in the Sudetenland.
Romania.
What is it about you people that you take the Russian side in all of this? What is it? Well, you clearly are. Anyone who's listening to this conversation will know that you have been making excuses for the last 5 minutes for the Russian invasion without saying a single word condemning it, without saying a single word to defend the Ukrainian sovereignty.
Because Putin made it quite.
So basically, in your law of international relations, Russia can invade any territory it likes because at one stage it happened to own it.
It doesn't own it. You don't own it. It's where the people live there. At least 50% of the people that live there are of Russian descent.
25% actually, but I mean, who's going to argue about 25%?
Well, look, if you consider the population of Ukraine at the moment is probably halved, or it's probably maybe even less than what it was, even less than half.
Yeah, because the Russians have kidnapped a lot of Ukrainian children. That goes part of it. Do you agree with that?
Again, this is all about demonization.
Oh my goodness! Are you denying that Russia has kidnapped at least 20,000 Ukrainian children?
Kidnapping seems a bit extreme to me.
They've taken them.
They've probably acted.
They've taken them out of Ukraine to Russian territory, given them to Russian families, and their parents in Ukraine are wondering what's happened to them. Do you not think that's a bad thing?
Actually, you could argue that they're acting in Loco Parentis, bearing in mind their family may very well have been...
Get off my radio station, Tom. You disgust me. I was determined I wasn't going to lose my temper with you. But how you can come out with this pro-Putin absolute bollocks, I do not know. Apologies for using that word. 7:50.
Wow. So that was exhausting, but it was also revealing. Did you notice the progression in the calls? Caller 3 tried to tell us that the kidnapping wasn't happening, that it was fiction, and the kids were in Germany, but then Caller 4 didn't deny it. He just rebranded it. He called stealing children from a war zone in Loco Parentis. That isn't just a bad opinion. It's the final stage of brainwashing, when you stop denying the atrocity and start defending it instead. And we've seen it across many different areas in the last couple of years, particularly the Israel and Gaza area. And it brings me to the elephant in the room regarding Iain Dale. I give him credit for these calls. He enforced a moral red line. He shut down the defense of war crimes and has done so on this issue throughout. Compare and contrast that to some of his colleagues on LBC who constantly platform pro-Russian propaganda and seem to revel in that fact. But there is a massive irony here. Iain is close friends with Nigel Farage. He broadcasts with him, he defends him. Yet Farage is arguably the biggest amplifier of the exact same Russian talking points we just heard. Indeed, one of his closest lieutenants was recently jailed for 10 years for taking bribes from a Russian oligarch. Farage has blamed NATO for the invasion just like the first caller. He has praised Putin's strategy just like the second caller. So while it's satisfying to see Iain shut down a random caller named Tom, it does make you wonder, does he keep that same energy when he's having dinner with Nigel? And actually, that specific web of connections between Farage, Russia, and the British media is something I've been researching quite deeply. I'm considering doing a proper documentary-style deep dive into this topic. So if you'd be interested in seeing a video like that, please let me know in the comments. And if you want to see more videos like this, hit the like and subscribe buttons, and don't forget to ring the notification bell so you never miss a video. Thanks for watching.